Donald Trump is the man of the century. It doesn't necessarily mean you like him or you hate him, but either way, he is the most famous and most influential man we have had in the last 100 years in America. Donald Trump is Time's Person of the Year, rightfully won, by the way, I think. I think all the other people were there were some decent, some bad nominations in there. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump is more influential than all of them. And there are so many iconic moments from Donald Trump that he's been a part of. Some where he kind of some of the most iconic moments really are when he just roasted people. And then of course there's some others when he said something legendary to some foreign leader. But there's three that I want to share with you today that I think really encapsulate Donald Trump as a person, on who he is as Time's Person of the Year. So without further ado, guys, here are my three most favorite historical moments of Donald Trump.
Would you like me to step across?
각하께서 한 발자국 건너시면 사상 처음으로 우리 땅을 밟으시는 미국 대통령이 되십니다.
If Your Excellency
I'm
take
okay
a
with
step
it.
forward, you will be the
I'd be
first
very
U.S. president
proud.
to cross
I'd be
this
very
line.
proud to do that. Okay, let's do it. Come on.
여기 위에까지 올라가고
That's good. That's your compliments. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Hi, Mom.
Good luck to
Look
you.
at Mom over there. Thank you very much. Thank you, darling. You have a great mom? Good or great? That's right. She knew what to say. Thank you very much.
America great again.
Thank you, darling. Wow, so nice.
Right, you're doing a good job.
Okay, these are nice people we're meeting, huh?
I'll tell you why I chose each of these moments, starting with North Korea. So his entrance into North Korea, I actually think highlights his ability to negotiate and work with the enemy. One of the weird criticisms of Donald Trump, which I frankly never understood, is that he's somehow hyper-partisan or he can't work across lines. And if you look at his presidency, that is simply not true. He actually worked across party lines many, many times. But more than that, I think his rhetoric of being America first and kind of asking for better deals with the EU, with trade, with NATO, made people think that he couldn't work across lines. But if you look at it, this is just one example. If you look at his foreign policy, Donald Trump is all about making deals. And this one, for example, he goes to North Korea and he essentially creates a more docile North Korea than we have ever seen in probably in history since the formation and the split of North and South Korea. So that's just one example. And on a purely political note as well, I had to include this because it highlights his great foreign policy, which is one of my favorite things about him. I think a lot of people would agree with that. It's one of his strong suits. So again, he's a negotiator. He wants to make deals. It's one of the things that defines who he is. So that's that moment. The next moment I chose was the McDonald's moment, of course. And I know that people probably saw this and thought, how is this historic? I actually think it was historic. And the reason why is because we used to see things like this in politics all the time, but somewhere along the way, politicians decided that they were too good for this. And I kid you not when I say that that clip that I took there was from like a 15-minute clip of Donald Trump just at McDonald's. I took a random 30-minute segment or 30-second segment. So like it wasn't hard to find a part where Donald Trump was being authentic. It was the full 15 minutes. It didn't matter what part of it I clipped because the whole time he's just naturally gifted at talking people. He does it kind of in this elderly man way. Still, like it's slightly awkward, but that kind of awkwardness is what makes it authentic. He tells people just how it is, how he sees things. He's not shy about things. I don't think any Democrat would disagree with me on that. They might see it as a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I think it's the reason why he's won 2 elections. And again, on just a purely political level, his genius was capturing the working class for the Republicans. He stole the working class from Democrats, took them to Republicans. Many people have talked about this. And I think that this example of him going to McDonald's is a fantastic way to show how he did that. He was never afraid to go to the level of the working class, despite him not being born in it at all. And because of that, he actually has an authenticity about him that Democrats just are unwilling to have because of their elitism right now. So that's that. And then the final video, and you all knew I had to include it. This video is hugely impactful for me. I'm 23 years old. I'm young, but also I've seen about 20 years of politics now, and I can confidently say, just from my personal anecdotal experience, that this is the most inspiring video I've ever seen of a former president, a future president, a politician in general. I wasn't even in the United States when it happened, and I felt just an incredible surge of patriotism. I almost like needed to get back to the United States to understand the feeling that everyone had around this. And if it had been me, the reason why I'm so inspired by this, by the way, if this had been me, and maybe everyone should think about this, frankly, I would have put my hands over my head, protected my vitals, and knowing who I was, like if I was in the same position as Donald Trump, I would have let the Secret Service agents protect me because that is their job after all. Trump, for instance, he had no idea that there were no other assassins out there. He didn't know. Yet he stood up and he told people to fight while there was blood dripping down his face. That is sweet. And I can't say that I would have done the same thing. So I included that video because it shows Trump is a fighter. Frankly, he's got balls. And those three traits that I just talked about are ultimately why he was president, why he will be president once again, and ultimately why he is Time's President of the Year. Well, guys, if you didn't know, I am partnered with Daily Wire Plus. The reason why I'm partnered with them is because they actually have fantastic content where they don't just talk about politics and what they can do to change, but they actually are changing the culture right now with my deal. You can use code CAR30 for 30% off your annual membership at Daily Wire Plus. There's actually a link in my description below, so just go to it. Again, use that code CAR30. It supports my channel, but you also get 30% off their whole content. I believe right now they're also offering BentKey with an annual subscription. So BentKey, if you didn't know, is their children's platform. So if you have children and you don't want them to turn into socialists, go check that out right now. Again, the link is in the description below. It is always fun to see the wackos at The View get angry, and Bill Clinton went on The View and made them pretty mad when talking about Donald Trump. You can literally see it on their faces. Here it is.
This time, Donald Trump won the race fair and square, I think.
What do you mean you think?
Well, I mean, I'm not like him. I have to have proof, some evidence to make a charge. Mm-hmm. So as far as I know, he won it. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of reasons why.
Yeah.
And look, I grew up in Trump country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my native state, Arkansas, moved as far to the right from 2008 through 2016 as any country, any state in the country. Mm-hmm. On both sides, care a lot about politics, and there's a lot more of this going on in rural America than you may think, where people are very discussing these issues in a very sophisticated way, and why they look at it the way they do. So I think what we have to do is to observe a peaceful transfer of power, stand up for what we believe, and work together when we can.
You can literally see Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin with the death stare on their face. Like, are you really saying right now that it was legit, this election? And they can't really say anything against it because it looks bad, and they've obviously been whining for years about how Republicans have said the 2020 election was rigged. I have a lot of problems with Bill Clinton. Don't get me wrong, I don't like the guy, so don't get me pinned as that, but I do want to give him some grace, and part of the reason why I give Bill Clinton the grace, generally speaking, is because he is married to the Wicked Witch of the West, and I'm sure that can put a lot of strain on a man. It would be difficult. But even in his old age, this is something positive I'm going to say about him. You can see from the way he talks why he won the presidency twice. And frankly, he was fairly popular, except for, that little scandal that happened. I'm not going to talk about that in this episode. But he was fairly successful and fairly liked. And the reason why is because he didn't demonize the working class and the rural voters. He said, he was the Donald Trump in some cases. I'm not saying he had the personality of Donald Trump, but the politics of Donald Trump in many ways of the Democrats back in the 90s. And again, his ability, he's essentially looking at these Hollywood elites, The View, and telling them that people in rural America are indeed politically active, and they don't just do things because they're deceived, like The View insinuates. That's what The View thinks. And he's saying, you're wrong. That's not what happens. They do things because of incentives. They do things because there are people who speak to them. And Donald Trump is one of those people. Right now, Donald Trump is giving those rural voters all the incentives that they need to support him. That's why they voted him in office. Bill Clinton gets it. It's kind of funny to watch The View get angry about it. But it's fascinating that the former Democrat Party totally understands it. The newer cannot get it down. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you haven't already, go down below, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and watch another video.